Hello everybody, and either welcome or welcome back to my podcast. As always, if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. So if you spend any time on Twitter, you will already know that this piece exists. USA Today released a piece yesterday, April 26th. It's an op-ed, and it is about the fact that Kamala Harris apparently owns a handgun. Oh my god. Holy shit. The cop owns a handgun, y'all. Can you believe it? But before we get into the piece, obviously, there's so much in this piece that is just so mind-meltingly bad that it deserves this takedown. But before we get into this, and I'm first of all annoyed by this piece because now I'm going to have to say not mean things about Kamala Harris, which is so off-brand for me because I don't like her. But that being said, principles being what they are, it is obviously Kamala's right to own a handgun if she so chooses for personal protection. And as a little bit of a backstory as to apparently why she got this handgun and when she got it, but back when she was district attorney for California, she was attorney general for California. She was DA for San Francisco before that. But when she was AG, apparently she got a lot of death threats. Like, more so than your average AG gets. So she acquired a handgun for personal protection inside her home. And something I went and researched just because I was interested in knowing, not that it really makes a difference one way or the other, but she did get married during her tenure as AG. So I'm assuming for at least part of her tenure, she was a single woman living maybe alone, maybe not entirely sure. But obviously, of course, you should have a handgun in your home for personal protection if you so choose. Obviously, it's your Second Amendment right. And if Kamala, as a woman, wanted to arm herself because she was getting, I'm assuming, somewhat credible death threats. I mean, it's not like when you're on Twitter or on social media and you're getting death threats. I mean, I'm assuming she was getting death threats from people who could legitimately carry out these threats if they so wanted to. So yeah, I can totally understand wanting to have a weapon in your home because there are people who are very pissed off at you because as Attorney General, you're prosecuting criminals. And yes, we are going to set aside Kamala's record as AG for this episode because it's not really pertinent. I mean, it's obviously her record is shit, but it's not the point of this particular episode. If you are somebody who is prosecuting criminals, obviously they're going to be pissed about it. Obviously they're going to threaten your life, and you might take those threats a little bit seriously because these are people who might have actually killed people in the past, and so not exactly an empty threat. So anyway, wanted to go ahead and just get that out of the way, but let's go ahead and get into the piece because, like I said, this is just so bad. It's so bad that we just have to go ahead and let's just get into it. And we'll start with the title of the piece. Kamala Harris owns a handgun. That's disqualifying for a 2020 Democrat in my book. Oh, really, Peter Funt? Opinion contributor? And apparently host of Candid Camera? I don't know, I'm not old enough to know these things. But because I was assured that the progressive Democrats, they didn't want to touch the handguns. They just wanted to address the quote-unquote assault rifles, which is a stupid phrase in and of itself, but for the purposes of this, it's always been construed as like a rifle with a high-capacity magazine. They've always specifically excluded handguns that are used for personal protection in your home. So really, Peter Funt, this is a deal breaker for you? Because I've been told this ain't what y'all are about, despite a lot of us trying to tell everybody otherwise. Subtitle: Harris, a former DA, apparently thinks it's fine to own a handgun for personal safety. That's a position held by the NRA, not progressive Democrats. Again, that's not how it was sold to me. That's not what y'all been saying. So one of the first reasons I wanted to do this piece is this is kind of letting the mask slip a little bit. And that's not to say that every Democrat feels this way, and not even to say that every progressive Democrat feels this way, but the fact that USA Today felt comfortable posting this op-ed where somebody is point blank making the argument that people should not even have handguns for personal protection. Like, this is over and beyond assault rifle bans or bump stocks or anything like that. Like, this is making an explicit argument that people do not have the right to have handguns for personal protection. Oops. I think Peter said the quiet part out loud. I don't think they were supposed to say that part yet. I think you're supposed to wait until after they get the assault rifles banned, and then you make the handgun ban argument. Peter, shh, you're giving away the game a little bit. First paragraph of the piece. When it comes to gun ownership in America, presidential aspirant Kamala Harris has shot herself in the foot. Boy, I bet he thought he was funny as fuck when he wrote that down. Like, he probably laughed to himself. Like, that is the most corny boomer joke I think I've ever heard. And you chose to lead your piece with that. Like, seriously, my dude? Oh my god. Anyway, moving on. At a time when Democrats are toughening their positions on gun control and seeking to make it a core issue in the 2020 campaign, the California senator has conceded that her personal relationship with guns is unique among the major Democratic presidential candidates. She owns a handgun, a campaign aide told CNN. Dun dun dun! Breaking news! Kamala Harris exercises her right as a U.S. citizen to own a thing that is utterly and completely legal for her to own. And yes, I know gun laws in California are complete bullshit. They are some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country. I know, we're setting that aside for the purpose of discussing this piece, but yes, it does bear mention. And the fact that she can own a handgun in California is indicative of her position and her quote-unquote privilege as being DA, that she can be able to have one legally, but as it stands, it is her legal right to have a handgun. And like, why would anybody bat an eye at this? Like, of course she should have a gun. She should have several guns if she wants to. She should have all the guns if she wants to. Because she can do that. Anyway, this underpublicized revelation comes as Harris is getting a lot of ink for being tough about guns. Her words are fine, but for a progressive like me, they are undermined by that handgun. And I can't be the only person who's disturbed. Keeping a handgun for personal safety is a bedrock conservative view. The best defense against a bad guy with a gun, the NRA falsely argues, is a good guy with a gun. Okay. Not going to get too far into this right now because this is not, again, really the point of this particular episode. But on the day that I am recording this is April 27th, there was a shooting in a synagogue out in California. And apparently the shooter was stopped by an off-duty border patrol who obviously was at the synagogue and armed, and stopped the shooter from doing any more damage than what he did, which at this point it is, I believe, one person dead and 2 people injured. One of those people is a child. So that's a story that I will discuss later on. There's still facts coming in on that, but shit like this is what we talk about when we say that a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. It's not some kind of false narrative that we just pull out of our ass to try to make an argument that people should have guns in private places, in public places, wherever people wish to carry. There is a point to that. And yes, a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. That's why we advocate for people who wish to carry and who are comfortable carrying and who have the proper training for carrying to carry. That's not to say that everybody has to do it, but we are advocating that people who are comfortable doing it should be doing it, and it should be legal for them to do it. Not a bedrock conservative principle. That should be a principle that everybody has, because it is your Second Amendment right to do that. It's not some weird NRA boogeyman. It's not some, made up thing. It's a fact. Seriously? Anyway, I am a gun owner, Harris said while campaigning in Iowa, and I own a gun for probably the reasons a lot of you do, for personal safety. The campaign aide, who CNN did not name, scrambled to explain that the senator's handgun was purchased years ago and is locked up. Again, first of all, it's her right. If she wants to own a gun for personal safety, go for it, Kamala. Do your thing. Second of all, this is going to be kind of my personal PSA on this topic. And that is, if you are going to purchase a gun for home, for personal safety, you don't ever plan on taking it outside of your home, please, please, please get range time in, learn how to use your weapon, learn how to handle it. Please don't leave it locked up in a box or put trigger guards on it, because when the time comes, and God forbid the time ever come for anybody who is listening to this, when that time comes, there's not time to be fucking around with lock boxes or trying to figure out the combination on your trigger lock. People who are breaking into your house are not going to sit there and wait for you to figure this shit out. So, if you do have a gun for personal protection in your house, put it someplace safe, yet easily accessible. If you do have children, tell them what this is. Tell them this is not a toy. You do not touch it. You don't play with it. You don't do anything with it. And also, if you're feeling especially bold and your child is of an age that this is appropriate, take them to the range. Show them that this gun is not a toy. And if you're feeling very, very bold and your child is of an age to do this, teach them how to use the gun. Don't treat guns like they're some kind of crazy thing that needs to be locked away in a secret and nobody ever talks about, especially if you have kids in the house. Familiarize them with the gun, show them what it can do, and then they know. They know it's not a toy. They know this isn't a game. I'm so anti-lockbox trigger guard thing, because God forbid you actually have to use this to protect yourself or your family or your possessions or anything like that. There is not going to be any time to be fucking around with any of that shit. Okay, off the soapbox, moving on. Harris justified owning the gun by pointing out that I was a career prosecutor. She could have said, dealing with dangerous criminals while serving as district attorney in San Francisco, I felt compelled to have a handgun. After leaving the job, I disposed of the weapon. Again, who's to say... First of all, actually let me back that up. Who are you to put words in her mouth? She said what she said. You don't get to dictate what she should have said. Who the fuck are you? Second of all, who said she was compelled? I mean, I'm sure she felt a need to do it, and I'm sure even after her tenure as DA was over and she became senator, I'm sure the people that were pissed off at her before were still pissed off at her now, and the threat would still be there. So, of course, you should probably keep the handgun in your house, because there's probably still people that want to kill you. So, why should her tenure as DA being over mean that all of a sudden, whoop, well, I guess I don't need personal protection anymore. I guess I'll just get rid of this gun. No, that's a stupid fucking idea. That doesn't even make any sense. Okay. Harris reinforced a bogus argument. But she didn't. She played to the Heartland gathering by suggesting it is wise to own a handgun for protection simply because you're afraid. Such thinking presumably extends to people riding the subway or walking home at night or driving a car among road-raged motorists. It is exactly the bogus argument that gun opponents are seeking to deflect. That's not a bogus argument, my dude. Yeah, people should be able to arm themselves in public if they are so comfortable doing so and are okay with that, because not everybody is. Like, not everybody is okay carrying in public. And that's fine. You don't have to if you don't want to or you're not comfortable doing it. But there should not be laws against you doing it if you want to. And yes, people riding the subway are threatened. People who are walking home at night are threatened. People who are driving and there's crazy fucking people on the road are threatened. And so yes, you should be able to arm yourself. That's not a bogus argument. What the fuck? I don't get that at all. Now we get to the paragraph that really set me off about this piece. Federal statistics for 2015, for example, show women are far more likely to be shot to death by an intimate partner than killed by a stranger using any means. An earlier study shows that women living at home with a gun are 3 times as likely to be killed at home. You know what, Peter? Why don't you say what the fuck you're trying to say, which is that women shouldn't have guns because women's might get injured by them, and they're so weak and delicate and they can't figure out how to use the guns, and if there's guns around, they're gonna be used against the women's. It's like, get the fuck out of here. Dude, seriously? Like, I can't stand this argument. If you are a woman, and especially if you live alone, or you travel alone, and you travel at dangerous parts of the day or night, or for whatever the fuck reason you want, yes, you should be able to arm yourself. You should be arming yourself. Because there's crazy people out there. There are crazy people in the world, and expecting other people to adjust their behaviors for you is a fool's errand. If you want to go there, that's your business. Personally, I would say arm yourself. And then that way, if anybody tries some shit, you're ready to protect yourself. So I'm just, that paragraph set me off because that's just trying to make an argument that women should not be able to have guns and should not be able to protect themselves in the same way that you would say that a man could. And that's bullshit, for obvious reasons. Moving on. The Washington Post reported earlier this month that 6 of 18 Democratic presidential 6 of 18 Democratic presidential contenders own firearms. I can't talk anymore. And also, we're up to 20 Democratic candidates now. With former Vice President Joe Biden's entry into the race Thursday, make that at least 7. Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg are among the other gun owners, but their weapons are old and inoperable. Buttigieg, a Navy veteran, says he has 2 antique pistols that are never fired. Alright. I ain't gonna call Buttigieg a liar, but I find it very hard to believe that a former active duty combat military Navy guy doesn't have at least one operable firearm in his house. That kind of stretches credibility for me. Beto is Beto. I would believe that he would have decorative guns. Like that, I can buy that. But Harris has wisely called for banning assault weapons and requiring universal background checks for gun purchasers. However, she seems to misunderstand the nuances of the gun control argument, particularly among elected officials and candidates for high office whose actions speak loudly. I thought that what Harris is calling for was the nuance of the gun control argument. Because again, like I said at the head, they specifically make the point that they're not coming for the handguns for personal protection. That this is just about the assault weapons and universal background checks, which again, I don't agree with that either. Anyway, so are you trying to say, Peter, that that's maybe an opening salvo to getting to the handguns? You mean like some of us have been saying this whole fucking time? You mean maybe we were right? Peter, is that what you're saying? I think that is what he's saying. Because, let's keep going. Owning a handgun is a bad idea. While progressives support the legal reforms Harris advocates, they also seek a shift in gun culture. That means setting an example for why guns, particularly handguns, are part of the problem, not the solution. Sir. We tried to tell y'all. All of us who pushed back against gun control advocates tried to tell y'all that this was the end game, and nobody wanted to believe us. Well, thank you, Peter Funt, for proving us all right. Thank you for your service, sir. Moving back to the piece. At this week's CNN town hall on the campus of St. Anselm College in New Hampshire, moderator Don Lemon noted that many students are concerned about how gun violence might affect them or a family member. That led to a routine question about gun control, but neither the student questioning the senator nor Don Lemon thought to ask Harris if she owns a gun. Well, why would they? It's not really relevant to the conversation, especially if asking her if she has a handgun, which again are supposed to be excluded from your little gun control argument. Why would anybody ask her? It's not even anybody's business anyway, so whatever. This time, Harris didn't mention her handgun. She returned to her standard stump speech, blaming lawmakers who have failed to have the courage to act reasonably about guns. It's a false choice, she said, to suggest that you're either in favor of the Second Amendment or you want to take everybody's guns away. Perhaps, but Kamala Harris doesn't seem to have the courage to concede that owning a handgun for protection is a bad idea. Instead, she has given voters a real choice. Back candidates who care enough about gun control to not own handguns, or support the only major Democratic contender who has one and won't throw it away. What an odd endorsement of Kamala Harris. Oh, God, damn it, Peter. Don't make me like Kamala. I don't like her. Don't make me like her. You're making me like her. I don't like you now. Now you've made me mad. But that is the end of the piece. And like I said, there's so much here that it's just like, it's really giving away the game, first and foremost. Because, yeah, grabbing handguns that are used for personal protection is the end game. Do not ever let them tell you differently. Don't let any gun control advocate ever say that, oh, this is just about assault rifles, or this is just about bump stocks, or this is just about high-capacity magazines. Nah, they want all the guns. Even the handguns for personal protection. Don't lie. Don't try to lie anymore, because Peter's done outed y'all. Second of all, there is very much this, and maybe this is just me reading into it, but there's just this very much this women shouldn't have guns kind of vibe going on here. And for obvious reasons, yeah, no, I'm not okay with that. Women should have guns. In fact, more women should have guns. In fact, if you are one of these women who feel perpetually threatened in the world, and that you are just this delicate creature and you're constantly under the imminent threat of attack, you should have a gun. Or maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. Now that I think about it, maybe they shouldn't have guns. But maybe if they did, they might feel a little more confident in themselves. But we all know that that's not really what they're going for. But yeah, so this whole piece, just doing this on Twitter would not have done it justice. So I wanted to do this episode just to have this particular discussion. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. If you did make it this far, thank you as always. And if you do like this, please rate, comment, and subscribe. You can find me on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and YouTube. Take care, and until next time.